All right, Brian Dewald here at Fairway Mortgage. We're here with our friend Nick Painz, Meta Homes at RE/MAX Alliance, and today we're going to talk a little bit about just some questions on selling homes. Kind of a fun topic for a lot of people, I would think.
Sure.
Yeah. So just to kind of jump into it, what's the most common problem that you see for sellers these days?
I think it's like, especially right now as the market's shifting a little bit, we come down to the expectation that their home's going to sell this weekend for 30 grand over asking.
Multiple offers, and it's just not the same these days, is it?
And so I try to be very transparent with them and give them an expectation that, hey, the reality is that the average days on market in your particular area, for example, right now, I mean, in Westminster, Arvada, Thornton, areas like that, anywhere from 30 to 50 days. Is kind of the average days on market, which is still fantastic, right? Yeah. That's still a really strong seller's market. Yeah. And so, balanced market generally happens somewhere between like 4 and 6 months. So, being that you're only, a month and a half on the market, it's still a very strong market, but trying to overcome the expectations that because their neighbors sold last summer in the peak of, May and June when things were flying off the shelves still, the expectation that their house may not sell as much as their neighbors did last year, right. And that it may not sell on the first weekend with multiple competing offers. So I think that's probably the most difficult thing right now, that sellers need to understand that that market isn't always here, right. And ultimately every property is different. If you've got a slam dunk, beautiful, nice, updated, completely remodeled property, you probably will go on the first weekend. But if you need a lot of work, people want turnkey.
Yep. So makes sense. Okay, cool. This one's always kind of a fun one, in my opinion. How important is having a dedicated real estate agent for a seller?
Yeah, I think there's so many options out there now to sell your home. Through companies like Open Door. They don't want you to, or they're giving you the opportunity to not go through the hassle of selling, your home, which is things like getting your property cleaned up, maybe updating it, maybe staging it, or just being available to show it, or getting out of the house so that people can come see it. People don't want to deal with that, but what I try to explain to them is companies like Open Door buying properties for 10, 12, 15% under market value, plus charging a cost to do that. You're sacrificing, depending on the cost of your home, I mean, you're sacrificing anywhere from $15,000 to $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 to not market your property with a classic, basically, real estate agent, with a person that is going to come in, be specifically dedicated to you and your goals. And that's the idea too, is every house is different. So, if I go to sell your house, Brian, and you say, Nick, I gotta be honest, I do not want to deal with getting my home ready every single morning to show this thing. Well, then I'm going to let you know, let's price this thing aggressively and sell it the first weekend. Take your family on a little vacation this weekend. Let me hold open houses both days, and let's get some offers by Sunday night and get this deal closed. If you're like, hey, I don't mind that, and I don't mind sitting on the market, I want to get the right price for it. Okay, no problem. But once again, I'll be transparent with you and letting you know that you're going to have to prepare the home every day, even if there's not a showing, because you don't know. One could come up midday, and you're not going to be home to clean it. So some people don't really want to deal with that. And I think the idea is it's really important to have somebody advising you on those things. Okay. And Open Door is really simple. They send you a letter in the mail that says, I'll give you X amount of dollars for your house. There's no advising. Nobody's talked to them about why their house is worth that. Okay. And I really think it's important to have that professional opinion on from somebody that understands the market locally, because Open Door doesn't understand the market locally either. Sure. They're a national company that's just sending out, so I really do think it's important to have somebody with a professional opinion on how your house is going to be sold. And honestly, we'll offer that same opportunity that Open Door might offer, right? Which is like, okay, if you don't want to market your property, no problem. I'll find somebody to buy it from you without that. At a discount. Without that headache. Right. And it will be a discount, but I would be willing to bet I could still sell it for more than Open Door will pay you for it. Okay. So yeah.
Seems like an expensive cost for
it's a huge cost.
For a little bit of convenience.
Absolutely.
Yeah. What about is there a certain price point where you're seeing homes might take a little longer? You mentioned 30 to 50 days maybe in a particular neighborhood, but is there a price point that might be taking a little bit longer that you've seen?
Yeah, honestly, I think it comes down to some of the loans as well. So jumbo loan limits, for example,
Sure.
right? So once you start getting into those jumbo loan homes where you're, most mortgage companies, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but there's a lot of, when you get into a jumbo loan, requires a more significant down payment.
Right.
I know there's some companies that do lower down payment jumbos, but we're not talking about 3% down conventionals
Right.
or chaffa loans. Or
Right.
so the reality is as you get higher into that $500,000, $600,000, $700,000 price range, obviously your pool of buyers is significantly smaller.
Sure.
Not just because of their income qualifying, but their cash, the amount of cash that they have to put down. So I think once we get to those kind of conforming loan limits and get out of those conforming loan limits into jumbo loans, I think that's really where we're seeing that slowdown.
Makes sense.
And there's deals around there too, and that's what I
Right.
think is great. So people are looking to maybe move up into that, that $600,000, $700,000 price range.
Yeah.
There's deals right now because people aren't putting that type of money into those houses.
I've noticed that as well. Have you noticed it's a little easier to maybe look in the 600-700 plus range, and maybe even lower across the board, but are you finding it's a little easier to get contingency offers accepted?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, we're getting contingency offers even accepted even lower than that.
Right.
Now they still have to be a competitive bid.
Sure.
But the reality is the ones that are at 600, 700,000 that have been sitting on the market for 2, 3, 4 months, they're just happy to get an offer.
Right.
So if it's contingent, that's kind of irrelevant. And so for me, even as a listing agent, if I list a $600,000, $700,000 home that's been on the market for 3 months and we get a contingent offer, I'm strongly suggesting we try to find a way to get this deal done because we haven't had anything else.
Yeah.
So whether it's contingent or not is kind of, just I guess depends. If you had 4 or 5 other offers that weren't contingent, it'd be
makes
easy
sense.
to say no.
Yeah, that makes sense. What about, and I've noticed some of this a little bit as well, but since there are more contingencies being offered pretty much kind of across the board, would you agree? And with rates being as low as they are, this year seems like it's a really good year to be buying and selling. Would you agree with that?
Sure. I think, as the market is starting to balance a little bit more, like it's not such an aggressive seller's market, it's still not a bad time to buy, but I have people that didn't want to buy last year because they thought that, oh my gosh, it's not a good time to buy. It's no different this year. Like if that's the way you want to look at it, it's not a good time to buy. It's still a seller's market. We still have an inventory issue. Homes, once again, that turnaround time of being on the market for 30 to 45 days, the reality is that that's it's still really fast.
Yeah.
And it's slowly changing, but I think we're getting to more of a point where we're getting closer to balanced. So you could say, oh yeah, it's a great time to sell, and everybody has said that, oh my god, it's a great time to sell. Not really, unless you're moving out of state.
Sure.
Because you're just going to turn around and overpay for something that you're going to buy on the buy side. So the balanced market is really the market that kind of benefits everyone.
Right.
The seller's market, while the sellers think they're benefiting from it, unless they're going somewhere else, they're just going to pay for it on the buy side. So as the market shifts and sell prices start to drop, yeah, sellers might be upset about that, but they're going to pay less for their replacement property.
Yeah.
So it's all kind of relative.
Yeah. I think the combination at the moment with rates, we're almost a full point lower right now than we were a year ago.
Yeah.
So that makes basically right now a $600,000 house costs what a $500,000 house did a year ago.
Right. Which is incredible.
Which is huge from a payment standpoint.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So that's huge. What about last question here? Do you have any commonly overlooked aspects when folks are selling houses that you like to bring their attention to? You mentioned the transparency and the expectations and all of that, which I really love. Is there anything that's relatively common that you think folks maybe miss from time to time?
Just in general, I think the preparation of the house, I like to go through the preparation of the house and just do real small things that help the home look better, for example, from a staging standpoint. So I think people don't understand like how nice like a fresh bead of caulking around their sinks and tubs look, so that's something that's really simple to do that they can do for a couple of bucks and 15 minutes on the weekend and increase their value literally thousands of dollars, because the perception about when people walk into a house and see like a cruddy bathtub, what do they think about the rest of the house?
Right.
So I think that's part of it. And then just once again, the idea of, which we already kind of touched on, is showing the home that they have to prepare that home every single day that it's on the market. Okay. So that is a huge circumstance and one of the proponents of the reasons I tell people, don't overprice your home. Don't overprice it, because you're going to end up having the price drop anyway.
Right.
And you're going to deal with this every single day. And you're going to get frustrated with me saying, Nick, I'm sick of preparing my property every day. That's something I think people are really not understanding, that it's not just when you have showings, because you never know when somebody's going to want to check out your house.
Yep, makes sense.
Yeah.
Cool. Nick Painz, appreciate it. Meta Homes, Remax Alliance. Appreciate you coming by today. Hopefully there's some good tips in there for you if you're thinking about selling a home. Contact Nick.
Thank you.